Hello YouTube, welcome to my channel. My name is Arya, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys a little bit about my struggle with interstitial cystitis. I never really knew what interstitial cystitis was, and I never even knew that something like this existed until I was struggling with some symptoms and was diagnosed with interstitial cystitis. So today I'll be going over a little bit briefly about things to try that might help you with this chronic illness. And I think it's something really important to talk about because it's not really well known out there in the community. So I'm hoping that these little, what I've gone through will help you in any way possible. So I guess first I'll start off with a little bit about how I was diagnosed and what my symptoms were. I was working at a school, and I was really stressed out all the time, every day, and I feel like that had a lot to do with coming down with interstitial cystitis. Just knowing myself, usually when I'm stressed or have a lot of anxiety, I start getting physical symptoms of anything. Like, it used to be migraines for me, it used to be GI issues, and then I feel like now it's my bladder problem. So basically, I was having a lot. It was crazy because it kind of started out of nowhere. It was in December. Well, it started in the summer, during the summer, and I was like, maybe I have a UTI or something, because I was needing to go to the bathroom a lot. Like I would say after I would go to the bathroom, I would feel like I needed to go to the bathroom again, and it was like right after. So it was right after I was done. Every time I went to the bathroom, I would go to the bathroom up to 16 times a day, I would say, and every time I would go after I was done, I needed to go to the bathroom again. So that continued for a little bit, and then it kind of went away. But then in September, end of September, I was having the same symptoms. I reached out to my doctor and told them what my symptoms were, that I was going to the bathroom like 12 times a day, which is unusual for me, that it was hurting, my bladder was really hurting a lot, and I'm not talking about like my vagina, I'm talking about my bladder. So I didn't have any pain down there when I was like going to the bathroom. It was all coming down. It felt like I had a lot of pressure in my pelvis area and a lot of pain. And it was so hard going to work every single day because I was in so much pain. I felt like I couldn't even get out of bed, but I had no choice. So I went to urgent care, and they prescribed antibiotics for me, Macrobid. It wasn't helping. So let me backtrack a little bit. So the antibiotics weren't helping by day 2. I was in a lot of pain. Then I started getting excruciating back pain that I thought I had a kidney infection. And so then I went to urgent care, and it turns out my UA came back normal. My lab results came out normal. They didn't know what was wrong with me. They thought I was having an IBS issue because I have IBS too, and they thought that's what was going on, because I also felt a lot of tenderness in my abdomen. But so they thought it was just like a UTI, that the reason why everything came back normal is because the antibiotics were working, but they weren't. So I took days off from work. So I feel like taking the days off from work, like 2 I think I took, was what helped me kind of calm everything down, because I wasn't so anxious or stressed out anymore, because I had a day or two for myself. So I think that's what really helped. So okay, so end of September, so that's what happened. And then December, end of December, it was really bad. A lot of bladder pain, a lot of pressure. I was going to the bathroom 20 times a day or more. Every time I went, I felt like I had to pee again, and it was miserable. Like I had urgency, so I felt like I needed to go. Frequency, I was going, I was getting up. I started getting up in the middle of the night, but it would only be like once every night, or really early in the morning, like at 5 or 6, and usually I'll wake up at like 7. So then that happened, and then by that point I went to my primary care. She said she thought I had interstitial cystitis, because at that point I had a urine culture done. It came back negative. So at that point they thought it was either endometriosis or interstitial cystitis, just because, you know, my periods, they come every like 35 days, and sometimes I'll miss them, but they thought I was having interstitial cystitis or endometriosis. So at that point, my primary care doctor, she gave me a list of foods to avoid, which is acidic foods like lemon, tomato, no coffee, no tea, avoid acidic foods. I was taking ibuprofen. I kid you not, I didn't know what else to do, but I was taking ibuprofen, 6 tablets in a day. Yeah, and ibuprofen actually really helped with my inflammation. It was the only thing that I could do, and at one point I think I probably, you know, took like 8 in a day, because I didn't know what else to do. And I had scheduled an appointment with the urologist, but it was a month out. So that was another problem. I felt like I was in so much damn pain. My damn urologist appointment was a month out, and I felt like I needed help now. I was miserable. You know, I missed a lot of days from work. I didn't know what to do, so I stopped drinking coffee. I would drink up to 20, I would say 30 ounces a day of coffee and tea, because I love coffee and tea, and that's what was keeping my energy going. So I think that had something to do with my bladder problem, is that I was taking in a lot of acidic foods. I would eat a lot of tomatoes, I would eat a lot of spicy foods and lemon, so I'm sure that didn't help. I think the biggest culprit probably was stress, and then also I was so busy at work that when I needed to go to the bathroom, I would hold it for like an hour and I wouldn't go because I was so busy at work. So that was maybe another issue. Anyways, fast forward, I went to the urologist, and you know, he did like a pelvic exam, and my pain was coming from my bladder. Like when he pressed down on it, it was the most miserable thing. My UA still kept coming back normal. So he prescribed Elmeron, which is a medication that is supposed to repair the lining of the bladder. With this medication, I had an allergic reaction, so I couldn't breathe. I had a rash on my face, a rash on top of my hand right here. It felt like I had little cuts. You couldn't see anything. You could see the rash. It was red, but after a couple days it was cut and they burnt. They were like, I'm sorry, they weren't burnt, but they were burning, like stinging, because it felt like I had little cuts everywhere. My nose was peeling, my chin was peeling, my face was peeling. I felt like my eyes were swelling up and my whole face was swollen, and I was having an allergic reaction. I couldn't breathe. So by that point, I went to the ER because my doctor thought I was having Stevens-Johnson syndrome, which is like a severe allergic reaction that you get, and it's actually really bad, and I wasn't having that at all, thank goodness, but it was pretty bad. So I went to the ER, and I just got sent home because at that point I didn't have the rash. My chin was peeling a little bit, but they pretty much couldn't do anything for me. So I stopped Almiron. Oh, that was a B. I stopped Almiron, and then my urologist prescribed Elavil, which is an antidepressant, and I felt like a zombie. I quit that medicine like 2 days in because I felt like a zombie. I felt like when people were talking to me, I would literally just look at them like this and not respond. Like I felt like I was going into like some kind of trance. It was really bad. So I stopped that. After that, I was just so stressed with everything, with work, with, you know, my diagnosis, and then the fact that it was a chronic illness. I was just like so upset because I didn't want to have to deal with this for the rest of my life. And the pain was really, really bad. So after that, I was just like, you know what, let me just try remedies that will help me naturally, because at this point I cannot keep going through this. So I went to my local vitamin cottage. I picked up a supplement that's from Nature's Way, and I should have brought it out, but I didn't. But it's a kidney bladder supplement. I was taking 6 pills a day, drinking water. That seemed to help a lot. So I felt some relief. That helped a lot. And then so I was doing that. I had to quit coffee. I had no choice. I had to quit tea, quit chocolate. I just could not function, and you know, I just had to do it. So then later down along the line, I switched urologists, and the urologist gave me really good tips, and he was very compassionate, and I really love my urologist. But basically he told me to try Pre-Leaf, which is an over-the-counter medicine that you can get at Walgreens, and it buffers the acid, and it actually helps with your bladder. So I didn't try that. So I didn't really try that, but that's one of the tips that I'm sure would have worked. I tried other things, like he put me on hydroxyzine, which is it's like a sedative medicine, but that helps me sleep throughout the night, and it actually helps with my anxiety too, and it makes me not get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and the pressure in my bladder when I do get up in the morning is less, because you know, when you're holding in your like urine overnight and like the pressure builds up, for me with my IC, the pressure is like so much pain that as soon as I wake up even a little bit, I have to get up and go to the bathroom because my bladder is just pulsing with pain. Another thing that helped, like just like natural, is applying pain relieving gel on top of your bladder and rubbing it in. So I got one from Vitamin Cottage. It's an aromatherapy gel that has like essential oils in it, and it's a warming gel, but it doesn't really warm, but you apply it over your bladder. I apply that like every night when I go to bed, and it really helps calm things down. So that really helped me a lot. And then I was in physical therapy for about a month, almost 2 months. And the reason why is because I just didn't want to have to live with this diagnosis, that I have another chronic illness that I have to deal with for the rest of my damn life. So I went to like a gynecologist, and then I needed to know, could it be something else? Anything else? Could I have like a cyst, a fibroid, something that could be fixed with medicine that they just haven't taken a look at? Because I had never had like an ultrasound of like my ovaries or anything like that. So I was like, well, maybe it's caused by something that's there that they just haven't found yet. So I had an ultrasound scan and I have a cyst on my right ovary, but they said that was normal, that would go away, and sometimes that happens with ovulation. So I had that on my right ovary, but that's totally normal, nothing crazy. But the gynecologist, she gave me a pelvic exam, and she found that my pelvic floor muscles were tight. So she recommended physical therapy for that. So I was like, okay, well, I've never really heard about pelvic floor issues or anything along those lines. So I was like, okay, well, let's see if this will help. So then I got online and I started trying to find different like physical therapists that deal with like pelvic floor issues, urgency, frequency, and like bladder pain. And I found one, and I went to her for like 2 months, and she had a lot of good tips. And guys, I'm like way better now. I have more of a normal life now, and I feel more normal than what I felt like 2 months ago before I saw her. It was life changing. Now, I'm not saying that everything is fixed, because it is, even with pelvic floor dysfunction, and I see it's something you have to manage and deal with for the rest of your life. So the tips that she gave me were that drink a lot of water. If you're going to have like coffee or something acidic, drink at least 8 ounces of water before you do have your coffee or anything that's acidic. Another tip was changing my behavior, because I would, every time that I needed to go to the bathroom, it was painful. I would run every single time. So I had to change my behavior. If I felt urgency, I needed to count down 10 seconds. And another part of that was contract your muscles down below. But I never did that, because it would just make it worse. So just counting down, relaxing. And instead of having to go to the bathroom before, it was like at my worst, it was like every time I peed, I got up, went to my bedroom or the kitchen, came back, peed. So it was like 15 minutes I'd had to go. A little bit better was when I had to go every like half hour or every 40 minutes. But then after my physical therapy, now I go to the bathroom every 2 hours normally, or every hour and a half, which is great. That feels totally normal for me. It feels just great. Like, the difference is amazing. So that's usually my schedule, like every 2 hours. And you have to go to the bathroom when you don't have urgency. So when you feel like, oh, well, it's been like an hour and a half and I don't have any urgency, that's when you need to go to the bathroom. So you kind of have to change your behavior too. And guys, physical therapy is super expensive, but it was so helpful, because I felt like I wasn't alone in this. I felt like somebody was there giving me a pep talk, and super helpful. And she worked on my pelvic floor muscles, so she would like need to go down there to work on the muscles. But it was just amazing, and I feel so much better now. She did tell me that it's something that could come back, could be triggered. So it's just, it's hard. It's really hard, because it's pain. You're dealing with like a lot of pain. So that's the really hard part. I was never given like any narcotic medicine for the pain or anything like that. That's not usually the route that they decide to take with IC, and it takes time. I was struggling since like last summer, so July, and I didn't find any relief until, I would say, like mid-May. So that was quite some time. It takes time. It does. You have to kind of change your lifestyle too. And just drinking a lot of water. The bladder likes to be happy. The bladder likes to be coated with water. So it's counterintuitive, but drinking a lot of water helps. And then I would say sleeping well. And then recently I found that stress, it was probably triggered by my stress and anxiety, the whole IC. I saw my urologist about 2 days ago, and he said that anxiety can cause problems with your pelvic floor muscles, because what I'm doing personally is when I get stressed or anxious, I tighten up my pelvic floor muscles, so it makes me want to go, it makes me have the urgency. So for me, since the physical therapy helped me, my urologist actually thinks it might be more of a pelvic floor dysfunction rather than IC, or a combination of both. And honestly, when he told me that, when he said, really? Well, I was like, really? I felt happy. I felt a little bit happier. And it's really weird, and I need to think about that, because I don't know if I felt happy because for the pelvic floor muscles, there's like physical therapy, and that can make it better, and I know the solution now. So I don't know if it was that, because rather than with IC, when I was diagnosed with IC, I was really upset because it's a chronic illness. I didn't want to have to deal with something for the rest of my life that I didn't really know how to control. But it could be a combination of both that I have. I don't know, but I was pretty lucky that my doctors, they pretty much diagnosed me really quick. But I also feel like if you're dealing with this, you definitely do have to be checked out by different specialists, because if I would have never gone to my gynecologist, I would have never known about my pelvic floor muscles. I would have never known that. And everything would hurt down there, like when it was touched. I never had a problem with it, typically, but if I would have never gone, I would have never thought about even going through physical therapy for this. And for me, that was the solution. And it's like really strange, but now everything's just so much better. I still try to avoid acidic foods. The medications that I'm taking right now, I use the pain relieving gel over my bladder, and my urologist prescribed Voltaren, which is a pain gel as well that helps inflammation, because IC is chronic inflammation of the bladder. So I also rub that on top of my bladder, and I just have to avoid coffee. I have to avoid tea. If I do have something acidic, I have to drink a lot of water first. I take hydroxyzine at night, usually as needed now, because I'm not getting up to go to the bathroom like I used to. And then as far as the pain, I have days here and there where the pain does get a lot, but that's what I do. So it's just hard. It's really hard, and it takes time trying to find like a solution. It does, but hopefully, being able for me to share my story, you'll be able to, find a solution. I think in this case, trying to find things that really work for you homeopathically, and also working with your doctors is super helpful, because that month that I had to wait to see the urologist was like the worst month for me, and I was just like, I need to do something, anything. I don't know what to do, and like none of my family has had any bladder issues, so for me it's kind of like, well, like, why me? Why did I get this? And now I'm actually going to see a doctor for my stress and anxiety, because a couple of things have happened, and I feel like it's related, and I want to just be sure that I'm doing what I can to kind of keep myself in a calm state. That way my bladder problems won't really come back. If you have any questions, feel free to list them down below. I'll try to make a different video about like IC and other things, maybe show you the products that I'm using. But this was supposed to be like a really quick video about, briefly about things that might help you, and then it just ended up being like my whole journey, I guess you could say. So yeah, and then another thing that really helped me is going gluten-free. And I know that that's kind of like everyone's going gluten-free nowadays, but that's another thing that really helped me, because I picked up a book. It's called an autoimmune, I forgot what it's called, but it's from Amy Myers, MD, and it's called like Your Autoimmune Solution the Myers Way. So for her, it's cutting out different kinds of foods and then doing a cleanse of your intestinal tract and going gluten-free for 30 days and see how that helps you feel. And after I did that, like it's changed me. So I feel like that's helped me as well. So maybe I'll make another video about that too. Okay, well guys, this has been a really long video and I'm going to have some lunch now. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, any comments, feel free to post them down below. And I hope that this was helpful in some way. So thank you so much for watching. See you soon. Bye.